cooperate out of respect for the special counsel. We're not going to comment. For any specific questions about the Trump Organization, I'd refer you there.
The White House is saying that while President Trump's lawyer is saying it's time for Robert Mueller to end this witch hunt. Stephen Roberts, ABC News political analyst. I don't even know where to begin in all of this. We are in sort of uncharted territories, but Andrew McCabe is fired. Does it make any sense as to why he was fired hours before he was set to retire?
Well, it makes a lot of sense from the point of view of the president. He has used McCabe as a punching bag for months now. It came as no surprise to anybody who's been following this case that he would fire Andrew McCabe. McCabe and McCabe's former boss and close friend, James Comey, pose an enormous threat to this president. They're the ones who have had conversations with the president. They're the ones who can give potential, I say potential, testimony about the president's mindset, including the possibility that he was trying to obstruct justice. And so McCabe and Comey and people like them pose an enormous threat to this president. So firing McCabe is part of a larger strategy, McGraw, to discredit the testimony of people who could damage the president, and that's why it was no surprise at all.
It seems like Republicans, if we can read between the lines, are cozying up to Donald Trump behind the scenes because it's easier to work or to sort of keep your hands on him, but publicly saying, don't go after Mueller. If you go after Mueller, that's a red line.
Well, some Republicans are willing to be forthright about this. They tend to be Republicans who are not running for re-election. You get, for instance, a very good example of this is Trey Gowdy. He's a very conservative Republican congressman from South Carolina. He's not running again. And he said over the weekend on TV, if Trump moved against Mueller, it would be a very, very long, bad 2018. Another South Carolina senator, Lindsey Graham, said it would be the beginning of the end of the Trump presidency if he moved against Mueller. So some Republicans are warning about how serious the consequences could be. But most Republicans feel that their political interests are tied to Donald Trump, and they're sticking with him.
When and if do we reach a constitutional crisis?
If you fire Mueller, I think it causes an enormous constitutional crisis. You know, the Saturday Night Massacre during Watergate lives in infamy as one of the key moments that led to the impeachment of Richard Nixon. And I think this would be a similarly decisive and cataclysmic moment. One of the key variables here, McGraw, is what happens in the fall election, because if the Democrats were to take over the House of Representatives, it raises the stakes enormously. That means that they would be in control of the House. They could bring articles of impeachment. They could continue investigations, even if Mueller were fired. If the Democrats controlled the House, they would then have subpoena power. They could continue a lot of these investigations. So one of the key things that is going to determine how this all plays out is the fall election and whether the Democrats can control the House.
Here's what I don't understand about Donald Trump's strategy. So they fire McCabe. They get him upset, who's a potential witness. In fact, I'm sure he has a lot of friends inside the FBI. So he's now turned a lot of people who were supportive of McCabe into enemies of the White House. It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense if you're trying to make friends in this investigation.
Well, that is a very important point. You know, Saturday Night Live did a skit about this over the weekend and on their weekend update segment, and they said, you know, angering the people at the FBI is like walking into a restaurant and saying, I'm not going to tip anybody who serves me and then expect a good meal. What you're doing is angering and alienating many people who could be potential witnesses against you and potential investigators. Now, there's a reason why they're doing it, because publicly Trump is clearly trying to discredit the testimony of McCabe, the testimony of James Comey, and others who could testify against him. That's why he's been attacking them relentlessly for many months. And it goes over well with his core base of supporters. But as you and I have talked many times, that core base is not a majority, and there's indications that it's shrinking. You look at the Pennsylvania by-election, the district that Trump won by 20 points, where a Democrat squeaked by and won narrowly. That tells you that while, yes, there is still a very fervent base of Trump supporters. That base is not as strong or as wide as it used to be. Trump could be making a miscalculation by playing to that crowd while alienating people who could provide very damaging testimony against him.
Stephen Roberts, only got about 30 seconds. Where does the Stormy Daniels controversy in all of this, where does that go?
It doesn't go away. Stormy Daniels turns out to be as good as Donald Trump is about commanding public attention. I think that these two characters are made for each other. They're characters in each other's reality TV show. They're doing guest appearances, right? And the fact is she is not going away. She's going to continue to press her case. They're trying to intimidate her through legal means, but she just feeds her publicity machine. And Donald Trump thinks Stormy Daniels is going away. He does not understand who she is because she's very much like him, relentless.
Never a dull moment. Stephen Roberts, they have more energy than I got, that is for sure. ABC News political analyst. Have a good week, Stephen. Thanks.
Okay, pal.
All right, 7:57, Big 550, KT.